Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. An active spring for severe weather continued overnight Thursday into early Friday. 18 different reports of tornadoes came into the National Weather Service over the course of 8 hours, starting in rural Grant County Thursday evening and ending with multiple reports of twisters in rural Dodge County Friday morning. Heavy winds in western Nebraska did damage near Lake McConaughey, according to the State Patrol. Officials in Red Willow County reported an under-construction house had collapsed because of high wind. Gusts as high as 85 miles per hour were reported in Kearney County. In central Nebraska, severe weather left behind debris and knocked out power to some. Hastings Utilities reported multiple blackouts around town overnight. City officials said power had been restored to around 400 people early Friday morning. Tornado warnings were also issued in eastern Nebraska in counties already hit hard by severe weather this month. There were reports of tornadoes Friday morning near towns like Nickerson, Scribner, and Dodge. A 77-mile-per-hour wind gust was reported southeast of Papillion, and there were widespread reports of tree and building damage near Omaha, Elkhorn, Ashland, and Ralston, among other communities. Thankfully, there have been no reports of any injuries. All these reports of possible tornadoes in Nebraska overnight, the latest in what could be a possible record tornado season. 2024 is rewriting the weather history books, and it's only May. Now, some communities rebuilding from recent storms are also preparing for future ones. Amy Kiley has more on what all these records mean for people on the ground.
It was pretty scary because we heard things outside.
This tornado season could be one of the most active in modern history, with more than 800 twisters reported so far this year.
Seconds after we closed the doors when we knew everything was breaking loose.
Now NOAA's National Hurricane Center says this could be the worst hurricane season ever, largely due to the warmest ocean surface temperatures on record. The agency's newly released preseason forecast predicts between 17 and 25 named storms. 8 to 13 could become hurricanes. That means some people still rebuilding from severe weather.
It's not a week-long process. It's several months of work.
Are also preparing for the future.
Just making sure, getting them tightened up for hurricane season, making sure you can keep the water out.
The timing is especially a concern for Gulf Coast communities where the ground is waterlogged from record rain. Hurricanes there could bring disastrous flooding.
We know that just one storm can cause a catastrophic impact, so we must ensure that we are safe and prepared.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The war in the Middle East has turned into a war of words between one key Nebraskan on Capitol Hill and the Biden administration's point man in the conflict. Joe Jordan has our report.
As the war in Gaza drags on, Israel insisting it's protecting itself amid reports of patients and doctors fleeing hospitals following Israeli bombs. Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts this week in a face-off with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, accusing Blinken of, in effect, helping Hamas.
Hamas hasn't released a hostage since the end of November. And shockingly, this administration, starting in December, has been ratcheting up the pressure against Israel.
When it comes to making sure that Israel has everything it needs to defend itself, no one has. No one will do more than President Biden.
The debate comes as college students across the country demand an end to the fighting.
Like my shirt says, there's no graduation in Gaza right now, and so it's actually quite symbolic for us to do this on our graduation day.
Meanwhile, Blinken and Ricketts find something to agree on, somewhat reluctantly.
When's the last time you called for Hamas to surrender?
Virtually every day.
Virtually every day?
Yes, virtually every day. I have said, Senator, that the single quickest way to end this is for Hamas to surrender, to give up its weapons, to release the hostages, to stop hiding behind civilians.
You're absolutely right. This all ends tomorrow if Hamas surrenders, and then the civilians would be able to get the aid. There wouldn't be any war there. I mean, Hamas is using the civilians as human shields. You told yourself about how they're hiding in hospitals and schools and stuff to fight the Israelis. Hamas is the problem here. Hamas is the one who started this on October 7th.
But that agreement only goes so far.
During World War II, we had to go into urban areas to be able to root out the Nazis. When you start putting conditions on our allies on how they have to win these conflicts, such as you're also doing in Ukraine with saying, hey, you can't go after long-range Russian stuff, blah, blah, blah. When we start doing that, our allies around the world wonder if these so-called ironclad commitments are going to be ironclad in the future.
We have one weapon system that we have been holding back pending discussions with Israel about how and where it would be used because of the concerns that we've clearly expressed over many months about the possibility of a full-on military assault on Rafah, a dense urban environment where using something like a 2,000-pound bomb could have terrible consequences for the civilians.
In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
On Thursday, a sweeping bipartisan border security bill, meanwhile, failed to advance in the Senate, blocked by both GOP opposition and Democratic divisions. The vote was 43-50, representing the second time the measure has failed. Senator Deb Fischer was a no vote. Senator Pete Ricketts didn't vote. This is the measure that earlier this year initially had enough GOP support, but eventually failed after former President Donald Trump came out against it. Democrats revived it in an attempt to pressure Senate Republicans and shift the narrative on border security, but instead, it may have exposed division among Democrats. Some came out against it, threatening to undermine the party's messaging effort. Closer to home, cities big and small are using art to draw more people to their downtown areas. Research shows that public art can not only provide economic benefits, but also foster a sense of community. Well, Casey Wannenberg takes us to Valentine, where they're gearing up to host an art walk and unveil some new public pieces.
So these openings in here, this could represent like the edges of a river.
Meet Jim Peterson and one of his latest designs, Golden Hour.
This could be maybe the sunrise, and this could be more of the sunset.
Peterson, who lives in north central Minnesota and works with his son,
we've really gotten into public art,
is dropping this public art off in Valentine, Nebraska. The town is one of a handful that participates in Sculpture Walk Across Nebraska.
These pieces are leased for 1 year. The artist receives a stipend, and then usually they come by and pick that piece up and hopefully drop off a new piece.
And that's all part of using the arts to be an economic driver for our community.
Here in Valentine, you can check out 4 new pieces of art that are part of Sculpture Walk Across Nebraska.
It's enjoyable. Number one, kind of a way to give back to our community and the people who visit Valentine. But again, number two, it gets them out of their car, it gets them walking up and down Main Street, and then hopefully entering our businesses and that sort of thing.
To showcase the new art and encourage people to shop at downtown businesses, Valentine is hosting a Main Street art walk on Friday. Of course, it's also an opportunity for free marketing as people snap selfies with the sculptures.
People enjoy taking pictures and selfies and, showing people where they're at and what they're doing.
This is mostly made out of steel.
And as far as Peterson, he's busy driving across the region.
Yeah, we were in Sioux Falls for 2 days.
Dropping off more than 24 different sculptures in 5 different states.
Most people can kind of relate to what we have, even though they might be a little bit on the abstract. You can kind of put together what we're trying to accomplish here.
Interesting art that could also carve.
Textures are hammered into the metals.
A financial benefit. In Valentine, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
Individuals, events, and organizations that brought tourism to southeast Nebraska being recognized. On Thursday evening, Gage County Tourism Awards were presented. This all ahead of National Travel and Tourism Week.
We take the chance to award those either business organizations or people who help to bring tourism to Gage County, whether that be directly or the Friend of Tourism Award is somebody who actually works to bring that indirectly, not maybe through their everyday job, but through their efforts, volunteerism, and service work.
Hurley noted appreciation for all area businesses and their efforts in bringing new faces into Gage County. She says tourism is a crucial part of Gage County's economy.
Tourism is bringing outside dollars to our county. It is bringing outside tax revenue through lodging, when they fill up for fuel, when they are stopping to buy a gift, when they are getting groceries, stopping for food. That is outside revenue. Those taxes then get to stay here within our county, and it actually helps our county through various ways, no matter how we're collecting that tax and revenue.
This year's recipients were Rhonda Brownowell, Outstanding Frontline Employee, Great Plains Welsh Heritage Center in Wymore won Outstanding Attraction. The Holiday Lighted Parade was named Outstanding Event, and Colleen Schoenweiss of Vintage Venue was named Friend of Tourism. And finally, reaching 100 years is a testament to the success of a business, and one in Platte County celebrated that milestone with one family's multiple generations, leaving their impact on history. Luke Stera has more.
The first 2 bays, the trucks will unload the soil, the dirty product.
Many things change over the course of 100 years, but this family-owned business has remained a staple in its community.
I'm kind of in awe to think it's been around for 100 years and grown and become what it is now, from just my great-great-grandma washing some clothes at her house.
Jackson Services has operated in Columbus, working on anything from washing clothes to interior car cleaning. Jesse Jackson's great-grandmother, Minnie Jackson, started the business in 1924.
The predecessors to me and my ancestors, they went through the Depression and they went through a lot of stuff to get here, and it is humbling. And there's pressure there too, because you don't want to be the generation that screws it up.
In order to keep the business fully functioning, everyone puts in their work, including Jesse's daughter, Eden.
My grandpa would make a big deal, oh, you're the first of many fifth-generation workers, but I mean, it is just kind of crazy to think that my family's been doing this for 5 generations now.
While Eden is heading to college to be a nurse, she knows she'll always have a home at Jackson Services.
I kind of have a lot of pride in this place and family pride, and decided to come back and do it. And every one of us, all 4 of us kids, I'm the oldest of 4, eventually decided to come back and work here.
While just celebrating 100 years, Jesse says the business will continue to provide the best services, one piece of clothing at a time. Reporting for News Channel Nebraska, this is Luke Stera.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.